Welcome, everybody. My name is Jonathan Gill. I'm the head of business development, and I'm going to be your host for today. So joining me is Rahul. So he's our head of product. He's going to be your main resource for all things platform, full things capabilities. And Joanna is going to support us with a lot of the engagement. Rahul is going to give you a peek under the hood, right? It's showcase really how to get things started. So you'll see a single pane of glass for orchestrating IT and HR tickets, some auto resolution for employee requests for outcomes of about 80%. You'll see some magic hyperflows and the workflow builder. We'll dive a little into actionable insights and from the analytics. And then finally, we'll end with what the experience actually looks like for your end users. As we work through our session today, please love a collaboration. Rahul's going to ask some questions. So drop some notes in the chat. We'll come off, we'll pick and pull from those. And then Joanna's going to be my partner to continue to monitor these and hopefully facilitate in real time. So it's really excited to have everyone here. This is our third one, and we're really excited to get started.
Yep, and feel free to use the chat, the Q&A feature. We're here to answer questions.
Thank you, everybody, for attending this webinar. I'm very excited to show you, as Jonathan was saying, the little bit under the hood of how Agentic AI works, and especially how Aisera transforms, the system of applications, be it ITSM applications, HR applications, procurement applications, into a system of agents that drive efficiency and productivity for all employees, elevating the employee kind of satisfaction and experience, but all the while ensuring that the business agility and the service availability, essentially the business resilience is kept into account. So with that, let's Joanna, go to the second slide, which essentially shows you at a high level what we at Aisera enable an organization to transform into. So if you think about it, you all have like hundreds, if not like thousands of apps, data repositories, knowledge management systems, ticketing systems on a variety of infrastructure and everything. So your employees, and I'm just talking about your end user employees, not just your IT support staff, right? Have to know how to use specific applications, how to use Workday, how to use SAP, how to use Concur, and the IT team has to maintain all these applications on and resolve tickets and stuff. What Agentic AI enables your organization to do is to shift left. What that means is using the Agentic AI platform that kind of forms the backbone of the employees asking questions on Teams, Slack, or wherever they are, they're asking questions in. This platform is essentially resolving 80% of employee questions, requests, incidents, issues, or whatever, right? And this is not just providing them with knowledge, it is actually taking actions on behalf of the employees. So it is not just telling them how to do stuff, it actually is doing that taking that action on behalf of the employee, and therefore reducing the number of tickets that come to the service desk, be it IT service desk, HR facility service desk, or whatever. Now, on the other side of the service desk, we also provide the necessary AI capabilities for the level 1, level 2, all the way up to level 3 users to get benefit out of AI in the form of assists, agent assists, as well as in the form of co-pilots for ITSM practitioners and practice leads. With that, happy to take on a question, or we can go into a quick show and tell of the platform. Any questions before we get started?
Looks like we don't have any right now. So let's get started. And again, don't be shy, ask away.
So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. So it all starts with getting the data ingested into the Aisera platform to, number one, make sense of the data of where your incidents and problems and requests are coming from, And number two is to have a single pane of glass for all the knowledge repositories or the data repositories to be indexed for answers to be provided to the end user as they ask questions. So Aisera supports more than 200 out-of-the-box connectors, as you can see, ranging from business systems, alert system, cloud providers, databases, so on and so forth. And then the integrations are essentially leveraged in terms of creating data sources. So when a data source is created, it is a mixture of the connectivity, as you can see again, like all these integrations can be transformed into data sources. But for example, if I look at this particular one, right, it's a combination of the connectivity into the Zendesk system, but also the mapping of the fields from Zendesk. In this case, I'm looking at a Zendesk integration, right? Mapping of the fields from Zendesk into Aisera, which happens out of the box. And there can be multiple entities that can be ingested. In this case, I'm ingesting the Zendesk tickets as well as the Zendesk users. Now, here's the other interesting thing you see, and this is going a little bit into the weeds here, but you see this token here. This means that this is actually an API endpoint, which means in real time, if something gets added to Zendesk, this data source is going to know about it and start indexing it or learn from it. Okay, so the connectors and the corresponding data sources help us get up and running very quickly because we have covered almost a big percentage of the applications that we see in the enterprise going in. Now, here's the next interesting thing that happens. Now that the system has ingested the tickets, the knowledge base articles, and the users, it can go ahead and start learning from them. So ticket learning is a way for the system to identify what are the top drivers driving for tickets in the organization, be it requests, be it incidents, be it change requests, and so on and so forth. So for example, in this particular case, we see a lot of the tickets are coming for email related issues. Okay, and the second big bucket is people asking for hardware resources, accessories, computers, phones, and stuff like that. The third one is about collaboration channels and collaboration, the collaboration platforms that people use on a day-to-day basis. So with that in place, here's what's interesting, right? Now I have a single pane of glass to look at all the tickets and the alerts and everything that has been ingested into the system. Okay, so gone are the days where you have to go to multiple different systems. But this is basically, think of this as a raw ingredient that goes into the AI platform. Okay, you can see everything that has gone into it. It's a very transparent platform. You can see all the tickets, the alerts, and everything that has gone into the platform. You can see all the knowledge base articles that it has indexed, and not just knowledge base articles and tickets. It can index your existing service catalogs as well. So this gives us a very good sense going into the enterprise AI sort of onboarding of what exists out there, the metadata, as well as the raw data that is driving the service desk across all the shared services. So with this in place, right, the tickets and the knowledge and the service catalogs, the knowledge and the service catalogs get indexed immediately so that it's available to the end user whenever they're asking a question. But the other thing that is happening here is that I can set up what's called hyperflows. So hyperflows are task agents is essentially telling the LLM or the Aisera's large language model that what to do when somebody is asking about ticket management or creating or updating tickets and stuff across different systems. So what you see here is a set of interaction guidelines, responses, and stuff like that, right? And this is a template that needs to be filled in to create an agent. Any line of business user should be able to do it as long as they have access to this template and the platform. And then what it's done is that it gives people access to certain tools, right? So these are the tools, or this could be out of the box workflows that are provided that people can just include in their Hyperflow. So Hyperflow is a very definition of a task agent. So in this particular context in IT, right, this ticket management Hyperflow or a ticket agent can handle anything related to ticketing in this particular context Zendesk, right? So it can figure out who's like, it can help users create tickets, update tickets, view tickets, and so on and so forth. Now, this is one kind of automation. The second kind of automation is the more traditional, the workflows that we're familiar with, where, for example, if you have let's see one of them. Let's go to the software access one. So this is a more traditional workflow where you can ask the system to go through a very specific set of steps and a sequence in order to get the work done. Now, here's the interesting piece of it, right? We have a full out-of-the-box library of these agents or task agents that can essentially be used on day one by any customer or any company organization that's onboarding on the Aisera Enterprise AI. So you do not have to wait for these workflows to be created. Of course, they can be tweaked or configured to fit your specific need in terms of the integrations, in terms of some variant of the business logic or whatever, but they're ready to go. Okay, so with the automation in place, the last thing I'm going to show you, not the last thing, but basically an important thing that I'm going to show you is our use of an ontology or the knowledge graph. So this is what helps the system to be very context aware of your organization. Let me give you an example. If some end user employee comes in and says that, hey, I'm seeing error number 4059 in the Phoenix application. Imagine putting that question in ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT does not have context of what Phoenix application means in your organization. Maybe it's a custom ERP application, right? But ChatGPT or any other foundational model wouldn't know about it, and it certainly wouldn't know about what error code 4059 means. But here's the interesting part, right? That when we ingest all the knowledge articles and the tickets, right? We also understand what exists in the organization in terms of applications, what type of error codes exist, right? So essentially get a sense of the organization vocabulary. Okay, and each of this you would see has synonyms associated with it, some of these entities that are very specific to that organization. So what now happens is with this ontology in place, which is not human curated but machine generated, if users were to ask the same question that, hey, what is error 4900 mean for this Phoenix app, it will come up with a very grounded, what we call a grounded answer. Okay, so these are the things, the single pane of glass idea that Jonathan was talking about, that make it possible for enterprise AI to be operationalized inside of an organization and not just be like a science project. So last thing here are the analytics. So every request that is being asked by the employees or the end user, the customers, are tracked here in terms of whether they were resolved, whether somebody marked it with a thumbs down that they said that it's not helpful, whether they were escalated to an actual human agent or a ticket was created from them, or whether they were abandoned midway. Okay, now for the ones that you want to go dig deeper into it, you can actually go ahead and click into that request and see the entire transcript of that request that the AI agent has tried to kind of fulfill. You can see what intent matched with it, what workflow was executed. If there was a workflow that executed, you can go details into the workflow to see exactly what happened, if there was a drop off, where that drop off happened, and so on. And from an enterprise perspective, we maintain the full audit trail of who's logging into the application, who made any changes to the application, and so on and so forth. Now, last but not the least, is it comes with a full set of access control capabilities, so that any role-based access control for who has access to what through access attributes can be done here on the platform. Or if you have ACLs defined on the applications, then the user context can be carried over to the application, right? And that user context can be used to do the ACL. So pointing out a few things. One is that from an enterprise AI operationalization perspective, security is extremely important. So out of the box, availability of role-based access control and ACLs. Understanding of the organization's ontology is extremely important. So we have built a knowledge graph and the ontology. Understanding of where the tickets are coming from and what we can do about it in the form of resolution is important. That's why you have the learning piece of it. And last but not the least, it is about filling knowledge gaps. So many times an AI agent would not be able to answer a question or to take some or do some fulfillment because it does not have the necessary SOP, standard operating procedure, knowledge base, or a workflow associated with it. So we constantly look at what is the gap that we see in terms of AI fulfillment. And for those gaps, we look at the existing tickets, the resolved tickets, the tickets that are resolved by humans, all look at chat logs, and we try to create these knowledge documents autonomously. And this knowledge document, once it is created, is already available to Aisera to answer questions if the user had a question like that. So this is what we call as a closed loop AI system, because it is not only just answering the questions and taking actions, but it is also providing or creating new knowledge, as the need arises to make it more efficient. The last thing I would show from an automation perspective is our ability to trigger events from third-party systems. So if you have, for example, a Nexthink or an Intune or SCCM running on the endpoint devices, and it doesn't have to be just endpoint monitoring. It could be, any third-party system that can basically webhook into Aisera. You can essentially use the Event Studio to start a specific workflow or a specific agent on the Aisera side. With that, let me just pause here for a second to see if there are any questions, and then we can show you some of the end user facing demos.
Sounds good. Yeah, Rahul, we actually do have a question.
Yeah.
What happens if the AI doesn't solve the employee's request? How do you help train it to then perform that task later?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me bring up my screen again. I did not go into it because it's a little bit too technical, but here's what is done. Remember, I showed you for a given request, you can see the entire request history. That's where you can put feedback and if you think that the AI did not do the right thing. But this is also something that a lot of our own administrators do in order to improve the resolution rate. They look at the unresolved requests, and then they also look at a variety of different parameters on what are the intents that are currently unresolved and stuff. And then they essentially go and train the AI with more knowledge bases, with more ticket information, and sometimes they would create more fulfillment options, like more workflows and stuff, in order to resolve that. So the AI workbench is the opportunity, is basically what our kind of administrators use, but this is also available as a platform to the customer admins as well, right? So we provide the training to keep your AI up to date, but we also do it as part of our service that we provide to any customer. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think that was a great job. Thank you. Santosh does have another question. It wasn't the original one, but one more question here. In ontology, can we have custom entities created?
Of course, you can do that, right? So you can create new entities and new entity classes, or you can generate the ontology from existing knowledge bases. And we also provide a library of entities and entity classes that we have seen through, of course, through distilled data across many different organizations. So we bring that to the table as well.
Thank you for that. And the audience here, feel free to ask more questions. Oh, there's another follow-up to that. These entities can be used in the intent.
Yes, absolutely. So you can use these entities as part of the intent. Like you can see here that this is basically an entity and an entity class being used. But what we are doing more and more is that we are going intentless. What that means is that there is no reason or no need to actually define this intents anymore. What happens is whenever the content gets ingested, like the knowledge articles get ingested, they get indexed, right? Similarly, when we have a hyperflow, right, we provide enough description and use cases to that hyperflow for the orchestrator to know what to call, right, based on what the user is asking for. So we are actually, slowly coming out of this whole intent-based systems into something that is called an intent-less architecture. But if you want it to be, very deterministic in terms of how you address user questions, then intents are still available to you.
Got it. Santosh said, excellent, got it. Thank you. So thank you for that. We do have some other questions coming in. Is there an option for hyper personalization, putting the user's department or location into the context?
Absolutely. This is a great question. So let me just show you really quickly how it works, right? So suppose I go to and by the way, these variables that I'm going to show you is available everywhere, right? And suppose I just take in let's see what to use. Let's take a JavaScript node here. Okay. And now here, you see a bunch of variables, right? So flow user is a variable that contains everything about that user's context, right? So you can ask that, hey, and of course, when we do user learning, that we should we should know about that, right? What is the user's job role? What is the user's location? Of course, I mean, you can also try to find out the current location. That is possible as well from a geo API, right? But in terms of the hyper personalization, you have access to this flow user variable both in workflow as well as in Hyperflow to make it hyper personalized to that user. And not just the flow user, you have the entire conversation context. So the agent actually inherently takes into account the conversation context and the session variables as well as channel capabilities. But if you wanted to do something very specific in the orchestration and the Hyperflow or workflow, you have access to all these variables to work with. So the answer is yes.
Thank you. So Santosh actually made an interesting comment that he's having the same problems with intent-based approach. So just as you had explained, but we do have another question from Moose.
Yeah.
Even on a closed loop system, how would you deal with hallucinations that may affect the knowledge base?
That's an excellent question, actually. So here's where enterprise AI is different from everyday AI, right? Enterprise AI has to be accurate and stable. When I say stable, it is basically lack of inconsistencies in the answer provided between one user and another user, and between a user asking it right now versus like in some other time in the future, right? So the way that it works is that in our agentic orchestration engine, this is some of the IP that has been built out. There is a core verification step that takes into account, if this question was asked before, like what was the answer provided and things like that. So that is a core kind of differentiator for us in terms of accuracy and stability. In fact, we came up with a benchmark that we had published along with Stanford University that is called the classic benchmark. It stands for cost, latency, accuracy, stability, and security. So any agent that is created, there is a corresponding eval that is created, if you can see it here, right? That has a set of questions that are always going to be executed to see whether the answer is the same as previous time or whether it's different, and also the latency of that particular question being answered. This is another core differentiator, which is that eval is baked into the system. So you can, as part of the test cases in the eval, you can take individual requests that had happened in the past and you want to add that, or you can add new test cases. So this prevents us from having hallucination. And the other point of, preventing hallucination is that the grounding of the ontology. Okay, so since we have the ontology to guide us for some of the questions that have a lot of organization context, that prevents hallucinations from happening.
Thank you, Rahul. That was great. Looks like we have gotten through all the current questions. So go ahead and go to the next phase of the demo.
Yeah, so let me just quickly show you what this means from an end user perspective. And let me play you a quick video of that. Let's see, computer trouble. Let's start with this. So just to give you the context, what I'm going to do here is, I will open up a remote desktop, right? And I've opened up a lot of Firefox browser files, Citrix, Adobe, and whatever. Now I come in as Mark Smith, whose computer I just loaded up with those applications. And I say that, hey, my computer is running very slowly. Okay, so now the AI agent is trying to do the actions of a human agent and saying that, okay, let me figure out what's going on. So the first thing it does is that it looks up what device this user has is using by looking at the hardware asset management table or some other kind of information. And we have all these connectors into ham and sam systems, CMDBs to make this possible. And it can also look up the refresh date for that device, right? And this person now decides that, hey, since the refresh date is in the past, I could ask for an upgrade, but since I'm in the middle of a project, I'm just going to troubleshoot it. So this is now the AI agent has to go ahead and troubleshoot the device. But in order to do that, it asks for permission to use the device kind of endpoint management system like Intune or something to go ahead and run diagnostics. So here it comes up with the device diagnostics, and also it can use public knowledge like Microsoft.com, Dell.com, Apple.com, or whatever, right? Or even private knowledge to come up with the next things that it can do. So the agent does three things right now, right? One is figures out through integration, like which device it needs to act on. Then it uses Intune agent or NextSync agent to query for device diagnostics, and then uses RAG on publicly available data, public websites to come up with next best actions. Okay. Now, as part of the next best action, it is trying to close the high memory consuming apps. And again, it found out that there is Citrix, Firefox, and Adobe that's consuming the most memory. So they will go ahead and select Firefox from here. And you will see that using again the agent running on the endpoint device like an Intune agent, it can take actions again on that endpoint device. So since it's mimicking an exactly a human agent, it does not stop there. You will see that it goes ahead and looks at when was it last restarted, and also prompts the user that they should be restarting frequently. That's a great example that we of both knowledge serving as well as action taking across multiple different endpoints, and thereby reducing the number of tickets that come into the service desk, because a lot of these tickets have to do with, hey, my computer is not working, this project is not loading. All those tickets are essentially taken out of the system. Let me just show you one more in terms of what is done here, right? So this is another very something that we see very often, which is that employees are asking for employment verification later. So again, in the same in the same channel in Microsoft Teams that we named it as Universal Copilot. You can name it anything. You can have your company's branded logo. You can have as many channels as you want it to, but we want users to just go to one single channel and ask IT, HR, or any other question, right? They shouldn't have to worry about, hey, which channel is for IT, which channel is for facilities, and so on. So here, Mark comes in and says that, oh, you know what? I need my employment verification letter because maybe I'm applying for a mortgage or for some reason. Okay, so this system essentially goes into a structured workflow here because there is a process here, right? And in the structured workflow, it first has to ask about the justification, which the employee provides. And then the next step would be to ask for approval from their manager. Okay, so in the structured workflow builder, you have nodes for approval, notification, and things, and that's how you build this thing. Now I go in as a manager who is also on the Copilot and sees this notification come in of an approval that is waiting for him. He clicks on approve, and now if I go back to Mark, who was making that request, you see that it's created for him. If I click into it, it takes them to Workday. Through the Workday APIs, we created the employment verification letter, which they can just now download. So let me just stop there. There are multiple such kind of use cases that come out of the box, be it on the IT side, like password reset, software provisioning, computer troubleshooting, DL management, email group management, nudging when AD users have their account getting lockouts and unlockouts. So we essentially provide a catalog of existing agents by different departments. Okay, so here is another interesting thing, which is that we also have this Copilot UI. We are going to rename it to Aisera Assistant, but this is a dedicated UI for Aisera's AI, right? Even if you don't have a Teams channel integrated or Slack integrated, everybody gets access to this. And employees also get access to it. But what I'm going to use this for is from an ITSM practitioner's perspective, right? So in the platform, we have the ability to, when we ingest these tickets and alerts, the ability to identify whether there were major incidents or not. And when we discover that there is a major issue happening in the system, right, we alert all the necessary ITSM persona, right, about that alert. So in this case, imagine that AMI was detected and they get notified here, right? And like this particular AMI would be essentially be asked about. So if I go in here, and you will see that this assistant is able to provide me, the ITSM practitioner, all the details about what is going on as a major incident. I said a major incident, and it lets me go ahead and investigate further. And it summarizes the incident. It then tells me what the impact is, what the RCA could be, so on and so forth. So remember when I was saying that this is not just for end user employees, but it's also for ITSM practitioners. This is what I meant, that like incident management, change management, problem management also becomes part of the AI offering that you can bring to the organization. Let me just stop there to see if there are any other questions, and then we can wrap up.
Sounds good. No more questions at the moment, but I encourage everyone to ask while we're here together. It's a great opportunity to just ask any questions you have, but so far, I don't see anything. So yeah, we can think about wrapping up.
Rahul, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really great to have you on with and really showcasing the platform. Joanna, thank you always. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Yeah, thank you. Great job, Rahul.
Thank you. Bye.